Well, hello. Welcome once again to another edition of Pray on This. I'm your host, John Pray. As always, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, or join me on Rumble. Because in the Bill C-11 era, the Justin Trudeau world of censorship, we never know when what you want to watch will no longer be available, and you only get to see what Justin demands you watch. Well, last week I created a new feature called the Week in Review, and it's continuing and will do from now on every Friday, with the exception of Friday, May 19th, 2023, where on that day my lovely wife-to-be Pamela will switch her last name to Pray. So obviously, I have another engagement. So let's start off with the always good to point out incompetence of our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Justin started the week lecturing us about misinformation and disinformation and his impeccable credentials to do so because of his English Literature Bachelor of Arts. In his lecture, though, he couldn't help himself and had to try and gaslight Canadians by telling us he never forced us to get a vaccine. Well, if he's suggesting he didn't by force, by penalty of law, he is technically correct. The Canadian Liberal government never passed a law forcing every Canadian to get a vaccination or face imprisonment. However, if you are a civil servant, a soldier, work for a federally regulated industry like an airline, via rail, or the banks, well, you would lose your job if you didn't get the jab, and a lot did. Or telling Canadians you can't travel, go out and use services unless you provide your proof of vaccination was sure as hell a form of government coercion. Oxford's Canadian Dictionary defines coercion as the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. It was, well, if you don't have the shot, but you want to work, travel, or go out for the night, well, you don't get to do that unless you're vaccinated. That's force, Justin. No matter how much you try to say you didn't do it, you did. Staying on our cock-womble Prime Minister, we are, as of today, in day 9 of the Peace Act strike, the largest strike in Canadian history, or at least since 1980, when the Prime Minister at that time was also named Trudeau. Justin's dad, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, had this very bargaining unit of Peace Act out on strike 43 years ago. Although Pet also did not get personally involved with negotiations, the same as Justin today, Pierre had enough sense not to jet off to a mini-conference in New York City, being put on and hosted by the beautiful and privileged people of actors, academics, and artists to talk about women's rights. He had enough sense to know that in a crisis, and yes, this is a crisis, the leader of the government doesn't just jet off to this type of affair. This, after all, is not the G7. It's not a NATO conference. And let's be honest, considering that Justin's fake feminism has been exposed by his true actions towards women, perhaps Judy Wilson-Raybould or Jane Philpott may have been a better choice. Whether it be by causing outrage with Canadian women, taking International Women's Day as a platform to push the agenda of trans women, his running away from managing the very government he was elected to manage, or his clueless understanding of what Canadians are going through. His strict following of his always woke, always green, always socialist, and yes, always authoritarian agenda is just something Justin must do. I can see it in his face, both in video and when I have seen him in person recently. He believes he's right. He doesn't understand why we no longer will listen, and he has zero clue as to how much he is disliked and outright hated by more than 50% of Canadians. Moving on, we have seen first Leah Thomas and then Dylan Mulvaney take to social media once again this week. Leah Thomas took to the Dear Schuyler podcast this week to talk about transition and to flame feminists. Thomas said it was great that his Penn State teammates supported the transition, but it was transphobic to not support the swimmer in competing in NCAA athletics. It shows feminists are actually misogynists, and that the misogyny runs deep in the feminist movement for not supporting her fully as a woman. Now let's be clear. Thomas is 6 feet 1 inches tall, and when they competed as a man, they ranked outside the top 100 swimmers in the NCAA. After the required 2 years of transitioning that included hormones for Thomas, it is true that he lost muscle mass, yet still has the larger heart, lungs, and skeletal structure of a biological man, which is 20% larger than that of a biological woman, and has destroyed all female competition since being allowed to compete in the female division. Thomas is also widely reported to expose their still fully male, fully intact genitals in female locker rooms in the company of female swimmers, which has been described by fellow swimmer and closest competitor Riley Gaines, who, by the way, is a 5'6" biological woman, as extremely traumatic to be forced to deal with this. Then we have Dylan Mulvaney, who once again is posting on social media, the first time since the backlash of her Bud Light and Nike product promotion deals. However, it is a poor me pity party again from Mulvaney, who is now suggesting that if you disagree with her days of girlhood, or cosplay of women, or misgender her, you should be arrested for doing so, as that should be against the law. Which brings me to my first mention of Jon Stewart, the former host of The Daily Show, a bad comedian who did a satire show of the news, and now with his Apple TV show, The Problem with Jon Stewart, where he actually thinks he's being a serious journalist, where his current whipping post is the controversial Matt Walsh documentary, What is a Woman? Going on this line, I recently saw an interview that Stewart had with former Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge in early January, just before the end of her term. The interview was in reference to a law that the Arkansas state legislature and the governor signed into law that will not allow minors to have medical transgender transitioning. Stewart was rude, sexist, very arrogant, condescending, and brought up a lot of false facts during the interview. He tried to bully Rutledge into saying the law was not only wrong, but was not based in science. He accused her of being a transphobe, a bigot, and after the interview, in comments on his show, even accused her and the legislators and the governor of Arkansas of being fascists. Now, this is nothing new for Stewart. He has, in the past, been accused of terrible behavior towards women, of being extremely sexist, and of also being a bully to anyone who does not share his point of view. However, once again, these are 3 examples of 3 people who are demanding that the 99% plus of us who are not transgendered, that we must affirm their beliefs. And if that tramples our rights, well, to hell with you cis people, or you just gay, or just lesbian people. You don't matter. We do. You must not only accept what we tell you, but you must alter everything to make us the special people that we tell you we are. You must agree with us. Staying with this theme, let's talk about Bud Light and the parent company, Anheuser-Busch. Well, the last time I looked, they have lost $8.5 billion in share value. The sales of their 2 signature products, Budweiser and Bud Light, are down 50%, and other brands like Michelob are taking serious hits. Since choosing Dylan Mulvaney as their brand ambassador, it has already cost 2 executives their job, and I suggest there will be more to come. The boycott of their product continues, and even though they have put out a wrap yourself in the American flag commercial with one of their world-famous Clydesdale horses running in iconic American scenes, well, a smooth baritone voice, no, I fortunately didn't get the contract of the voiceover, talks about Bud's place in history and in America. They also put in an appeal for the 30,000 plus employees of the brewery who, just like the customers they insulted, are hardworking Americans. Even this tried and true commercial from the past, of which Bud was once praised, is not erasing this insult. Now, Nike is starting to get very similar treatment, with women's groups calling for the same sort of boycott of Nike for using a man who is playing at being a woman to market sports bras. I personally do not see the logic of using a man who, no matter what you believe, Dylan, you have a male body that looks extremely undernourished, to market a sports bra where you have no breasts at all to women who actually have breasts. Who, while you did the video promoting this product, did so in the most offensive bimbo caricature of a woman that I have ever witnessed in my 53 years on this planet. But hey, it's 2023, and in this day and age, it's all about your corporate equity index and bowing down to the Human Rights Campaign Foundation, which is a 2S LGBTQQAI+ foundation, who ranks companies on how they bow to the foundation's agenda across several categories. And currently, that agenda is all about trans. Personally, the way they behave right now, I have a serious suggestion for the L, G, and B part of that acronym. Time for you guys to get a divorce from the rest. I also believe it's a reason that companies like Disney, Netflix, and other networks are now using actors of color in remakes of what was once a role played by a white actor, or making gay rom-coms or LGBTQ friendly films with LGBTQ main characters, all of which have been extreme financial flops at the box office. Geez, seems that making a movie for around 10% or less of the population, or making a historical movie about Anne Boleyn, then using a black actress to play Anne, who was most definitely a white, is not really what the rest of us want to see. It would seem that using a trans woman as a marketing tool for a product that over 85% of the customer base are blue-collar men, or a product that is exclusively for women who by scientific fact have breasts, may be great for your CEI score, but really, really bad for your bottom line. Also, the more this woke agenda gets pushed, a funny thing is happening as they try to normalize this woke agenda, drag shows for children, and that boys can be girls and girls can be boys. Regular people are saying enough. I don't want any more of this crap. Up to and including now seeing a mass protest by high school students in Toronto who protested a drag show put on at their school, of which some students could attend, some chosen students, and the rest were supposed to stay in class. Or the township of Norwich in southwestern Ontario, which passed a bylaw this past week banning all flags and banners that are not national, provincial, or municipal flags and banners from township property and lampposts. They also refused to pass a bylaw proclaiming June as Pride Month, and a bylaw that would have seen the rainbow crosswalk once again painted at the major intersection in the town of Norwich. No pride flags this year, no Pride Month in Norwich. That brings me to the two shocks of the week. Well, one shock, and one, if you didn't see it coming, you're blind. Fox News fired Tucker Carlson, and CNN fired Don Lemon. Tucker is the shock, Don is not. Now, of course, we've had lots of speculation as to why Fox fired what, by far, is the most popular host on their network, with over 3.5 million daily viewers. What I do know, if you listen to the always woke I'm right Jon Stewart, or the I'm so far to the left that I make Bernie Sanders look like Ronald Reagan, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talk about it, you would have believed that all of humanity had been saved by Tucker's dismissal. For those on the left who believe that Tucker is gone for good, And hell, he might be. After all, the man has a net worth of $370 million. If he wants to stop and sit back, that's up to him. But much like Megyn Kelly, who Jon Stewart was a complete sexist jerk to when she left Fox News, saying some of the most misogynistic things I had ever heard about her, or Glenn Beck and others who have been fired from other news networks, but usually right wing. The left cheer, and then to their horror, those people show up on the internet with a successful show that's as popular or more popular than they were before. And now they're not constrained by the network. They are far greater nightmares for AOC, Jon Stewart, and Justin Trudeau's of the world. Finally, what is it with diehard leftists in supporting your people? I have talked often about the cult of Justin Trudeau, and this week I tried an experiment on TikTok. No, Trudeau wasn't the subject. I went to AOC and found a clip of her being a harpy, as she most certainly can be. I stitched it and then asked if this was not a young, attractive woman, but instead an older, unattractive woman or a man. Would anybody pay attention to her? Now, of course, I got called sexist, told I'm afraid of strong, independent women, intelligent women, educated women, that I was objectifying her, that I was sexualizing her. They all missed the point and made assumptions. My wife is a strong, intelligent, educated, attractive, executive woman at a multinational corporation, so I'm not intimidated or threatened by women that are strong, attractive, independent, or educated. My question about AOC was no different than my question about Trudeau, who I asked if he was not an attractive, charming man with great hair and the right last name, would anybody pay attention to him? In both cases, the attacks became personal about my looks or my education, and their assumptions were completely wrong that I was a high school grad at best, but most likely a dropout. I'm not. I've been to two major Canadian universities and successfully graduated from both of them. However, there was two on the Trudeau experiment and one on the AOC one who actually went beyond petty attacks and tried to defend their person. However, when I asked them what they've accomplished in office, I got back, well, they've done lots of great things. I asked, can you give me 3 accomplishments? To which I got back, well, what do you mean? I said, 3 things that they've championed, created, or caused. Hell, let's just make it 1. What I got back after that was crickets. That says a lot. So how do I sum this up? This has been a lot of words and honestly a lot of work in research, writing, and editing. What have I learned this week? Well, it's clear that politicians who have had the worst records of oppression during the pandemic now want to be fully forgiven or tell us they didn't do what they did. We're all just supposed to forget the truth. That our prime minister is incompetent and refuses to do his job. Hell, he's even refusing to attempt to look like he can or wants to do his job. That those who support politicians like JT and AOC, yet drag serious people who have serious solutions like Pierre Poilievre, truly do not pay attention to how totally incompetent the people that they support actually are. Finally, we're seeing an awakening of normal Canadians. I don't know what caused it. Has it been the radical trans agenda has been pushed too far? Was it they woke up as to how bad inflation, interest rates, the economy, and crime is? Are they sick of being lied to? Most will not have an answer. If they do, they won't tell you. But I think I have one, and I will share it. The normal, regular person who is concerned with their family, friends, and themselves are sick of being told that they are less than because of their race, their religion, their politics, or told to shut up. You are just a straight cis, or just gay, or just a lesbian. They're also sick of the green harpies who come out with the world is going to end in 7 years because of climate change, even though every prediction the green radicals have made have been wrong. But it's trust the science. We are enlightened, empathetic, and we know the way, all the while being the most rude, ignorant, intolerant, and racists in their actions. People are sick of being told this by people who can't tell you what a woman is, but want you to believe that there's 171 genders, that a boy can become a girl and a girl become a boy. It's all a social construct. They even want you to believe that a man can give birth. Well, guess what? The curtain has been pulled back. The Wizard of Oz is just a man with a sound system and a light show. The Emperor is not wearing any new clothes. He has no clothes at all and is standing naked. And the woke leftist agenda is nothing more than sunshine, rainbows, and fairy tales. If you're one of these woke leftist idiots, I have a message for you. You're out of touch. We are out of patience and money, and your 15 minutes of fame is up. That, as always, is Pray on This. Once again, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. I wish you all a wonderful weekend. I'll see you on Monday, and until God bless every single one of you.